Hey guys, it's Matt here, and today we're going to be installing and reviewing the Windows 11 beta. I've already got a virtual machine set up with Windows 11 via UTM, so if it's a bit sluggish, I'll edit out any of the speed drops so then it won't be too annoying for you guys. Let's get this installed. Okay, so you can see here's the new boot icon. That looks pretty good, actually. I actually like the way that looks. I think there's a small gradient on there as well. I think that looks pretty good. Hopefully this installs. Oh. Maybe this will work this time. Okay, well, how much RAM does this for? It says memory management. I think I didn't give enough RAM to the system. I definitely did not. Okay, so hopefully this time it boots. Alright, so here is the new Windows stuff flashing at me. So we have the new Windows logo here. Language install, English. Next, install. I give this virtual machine 30 gigabytes to work with, which should be enough for this version of Windows at least. I'm not going to be installing updates on it. It's probably going to be discarded once this video is over. Alright, so we are now at the Activate Windows screen here, which I don't have a product key, so I'm going to skip that. And we're going to do Windows 11 Pro, because we're silly like that. Okay, I accept the agreement. We're going to do a custom install. We're going to click right there. Next. And there we go. I'm surprised it didn't give me an error saying that it wasn't compatible. So it is now copying the Windows files. It's getting ready for installation. I'm going to skip through this part, time-lapse this here, because you don't need to watch the entire thing. So I'm just going to speed through this, and we'll see what happens. So it looks like we are in the setup. It's being slow. So is this the right country or region? Yes, the US. Yes. Okay, well, that happened. We're gonna skip that. Not willing to wait for that to happen again. Let's connect you to a network. What's needed here? Can I please? Next? Okay, fine then. I don't have internet. Now I'm gonna continue with limited setup because it won't let me continue on. I'm immediately noticing though, and I didn't mention this earlier, the setup is already different from Windows 10 setup. You can see here it's got rounded corners up here. Windows 10's obviously, you probably know what that is. It is the blue background with the top bar with like the steps that kind of go across the top. You can also see there's just like a white dialog. There's some animations here which don't really render very well because I don't have drivers installed. This looks, honestly, in my opinion, I really like the setup on this computer better than the Windows 10 setup. So I'm just going to put Matthew here because that is who's going to use the computer. Now add security question. Windows. What's your first pet's name? I don't know. Something. What's the name of the city where you were born? Someplace. Simpla3. You know what? That's fine. What is the first name of your oldest cousin? Well, that person is somebody. Alright, so we're at the Windows privacy screen here, which is, you know, pretty typical. Anyways, I'm going to just disable all these. and accept. This might take a few minutes, and while the animation's choppy because I don't have drivers installed, this used to just be a blue background. Oh goodness gracious, you can see that it's struggling a bit. I actually love the way this looks now, especially because I'm a sucker for blurs. So I'll let this go through, and I'll come back when it's done. So you can see I'm now at the Windows 11 desktop. You can see how it looks kind of down here with the taskbar. You can see the icons for like the recycle bin and stuff. Some things haven't loaded yet. I've got to install drivers yet, so I'll be back when all those are complete. So you can see I'm at the Windows 11 desktop, and you can probably already see some differences. Now first though, I'm going to go over a few things that happened during the first time setup. I would actually have reviewed them during the setup, but the problem is as you saw from before, the setup didn't go too well, so it was very hard for me to review it. So, first of all, the setup was redesigned. I'm pretty sure I already mentioned that, so I'm not going to go over that one too much. I think it looks nice. Secondly, the Microsoft account is not forced anymore, and unfortunately you can see my VM doesn't have internet for some reason. I don't know why that's not working. I would have seen this if I had an internet connection. You can just sign in with a local account, which is what I do with my Windows systems, and then I sign into my Microsoft account through the Windows Store. They make that a lot easier than before, because before you had to sign in with a Microsoft account. If you didn't have one, it forced you to create one. The only way that you could actually make a local account on Windows 10 was by disconnecting from the internet on setup, which I found quite annoying to have to do every time. So I really do appreciate that. So next, you can see down here in the taskbar, you can see the icons are now centered on the screen. I honestly don't really prefer that. I can definitely see why a lot of people would though, because on like a tablet or something, I could see how that could be more convenient. Along with, if you see on the taskbar here, the icons are the same, but there's now the date of the week right on the taskbar, which I think is nice. They were able to do this because they actually adjusted the size of the taskbar a little bit, which I don't really... Now that I look at it a lot, I'm not totally bothered by it, but I still wish that there was a way to put it back down to the default size in Windows 10. I actually preferred that one. I don't like that they made it bigger. Along with, there is now a widgets viewer that sits right here. And yeah, you can see here with the dashboard, I don't have internet, so that's not going to work. But it wasn't going to work anyways because I have a Microsoft account set up, so I'm not too worried about that. It's the same one that's in Windows 10, really. Windows 10's was just in a different position. It was in the bottom right corner, and it showed the weather instead, which I never really used the dashboard feature with like the widgets and stuff anyway, so I'm not really too worried about that. And one thing that you also might notice by default, I didn't change anything here. The search icon is now just an icon. It used to be an entire bar that sat on the bottom. That is not the case anymore, and I don't even know if there's a way to change it. In fact, I think the search bar itself might be removed, and you have to use that icon. You can also see as well that the search has been redesigned. You can see that there is rounded corners on the edges. It floats above the surface now. Has the search bar up here. It used to be on the bottom on Windows 10 if you had the icon just sitting in the taskbar. It does look quite different. I actually do prefer the way that this looks over Windows 10s. You can see I had to mess with hard drive partition, so that's why this is here. I don't need that there though, but that's where recents sit. And you can see you can change it you can change the search for all apps, documents, settings, all the other settings there. And finally, something that I haven't mentioned yet, they redesigned the start menu. Now you can see when I get this opened up here, I actually like this a lot better than the live tiles, so this is something I really do appreciate, is having the icons just sitting up here. I do wish there was a way for it to show all apps separately. You can actually see in Windows 10, they had the all apps on the left side of the icons, which obviously there's nothing there. And now all apps sits in its own section, which sits right here, and then you scroll through your apps right here. And I'm just gonna use the scroll bar, which also you can see the scroll bar now looks a bit different. But yeah, you scroll through your apps through here now, and to obviously get back to the main start menu, just click the back button. It's not difficult to get into, but I actually prefer the way that it looks with the icons on the left side. Since I don't have enough apps to be able to demonstrate this, because I'm offline, so it didn't put any other extra apps down in here. This is like a 3x6 section. You can have 18 apps on one little part here at a time, and then once you have more than that, it will start to scroll down here. This recommended area just sticks here forever. And you can see the start menu also is floating. You can see there's a gap down here, and they have rounded corners as well. I can see that Microsoft was really going for the rounded corners, which honestly like that design, so keep it up, Microsoft. Something else that has not really been redesigned all that much, but just a little bit, is the Action Center. So you can see here, I've got notifications sitting here just because I didn't clear them, but you can see these are actually rounded just a little bit. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see that these have rounded edges, unlike the old notifications. These buttons are also rounded, which I honestly like the way this looks a lot better, these quick actions. I think these look a lot nicer. But yeah, not too much changed with the Action Center. Now, another thing that I unfortunately cannot show in this virtual machine is that Windows and context menus now also have rounded edges. However, the drivers that the virtual machine software that I'm using supplies doesn't enable those because it doesn't see these as like proper graphics acceleration. So you can see they're still the square edges that we find in Windows 10. But if I show a clip here from the YouTube channel Theo Joe, you can see the windows are very much rounded in the newer versions of Windows, and once you get a valid display driver, it will work just fine. You'll get the rounded edges on everything. And you can see here on my virtual machine, there's no rounded edges either here. There's also shadows underneath this, but this doesn't exist on here either, which is unfortunate because that's actually a big part of Windows 11, and my virtual machine doesn't support that. But it's not that big of a deal, to me at least, if those rounded edges don't show up in this video. Along with, arrow snap animations have also changed. If I grab a window here and drag it to the side, you'll see that looks completely different than how Windows 10s look. And unfortunately, my virtual machine doesn't have transparency with that, which is unfortunate. And you can also see it does the same thing when you're hopping over to the top of the corners of Windows. And along with that, if you hover over the maximize button, you can see there's now new options for arrow snap. You can see all of these different options here. These will align the windows in a way where you can snap another window to the right side. I'm going to see if I can do this without the VM freaking out. So you can see here I've got a second window open, and if I drag this to the side, it'll open up this, and since this VM's kind of slow, there we go. You can see this also has a new interface with like a whole new thing, and you can see rounded corners on here as well. And you just click that, and it will pull that window to the left side as well. And like I said, with the maximize button here, let me get both of these out of the snap. If I hover over the maximize button, and let's say I want to arrange it like this, I can click here, then this will pop up here, and I can arrange it like that. And honestly, that's really cool. I love that feature. I will definitely be using that. Now, something else that's also new with Windows 11 is the animations when maximizing, restoring, and minimizing windows, along with closing. I'm pretty sure it has a bit of a different animation. Now, unfortunately, this VM is not going to show it very well because since the drivers I have aren't really graphics accelerated, you can see the animations, but they're not going to run very smoothly. Like if I minimize this window. Yeah, that didn't look very good. So that, unfortunately, is not something I'm really going to be able to show off too well. Maximizing. Yeah, like maximizing, you can't even see that there's any animations there, which is kind of unfortunate. I might be able to shrink the window down enough to where I can actually show that. Let me see how small this goes. Oh, well, there we go. And then if I minimize this, you can kind of see it on this virtual machine. You can see the animations are slightly different, and you can even see on the taskbar down there, though, when I minimize, it kind of bounces, which I think that looks kind of cool. It's like kind of animated, and I think that looks really nice. Now, let's move on from animations and design to sound. If we go over to the sound icon down here, they have changed the Windows sounds, and if I adjust the volume here, you'll hear that. So that sounds, in my opinion, I think that sound, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's just the Windows default beep sound or something like that. I think that sounds really nice. And they've changed the sounds for everything. If I open a run dialog here and just type in some garbage here, you can hear it made that error noise. And honestly, it sounds nicer. I think it sounds calmer. It's not like in your face kind of thing where it's like error. It honestly sounds, in my opinion, a lot nicer than the old Windows sounds did. Now, moving on to some apps, and I've been surprised when looking at reviews how little people have mentioned this. These applications in the start menu here, the Notepad and the Paint app, these are both UWP apps now. If you right-click the app, you'll see there's no option to open it in File Explorer. There would be if it was a .exe file, so if I pinned like the old Notepad in here, which is still in here, it's still in System Area 2, the old exe version of Notepad, it's still there and it will say open in File Explorer. These applications are UWP applications. I'm not going to uninstall it, and yes, you can. I'm not going to, though, because I don't have internet. I'm not going to be able to get them back if I do that, so I'm not really going to worry about that too much. And yes, Notepad and Paint also show up in the Windows Store as well, so if you want to re-download them, they're there, and they're not in the Windows 10 store. They are in the Windows 11 store, though, because these are UWP applications. Along with Something that I've seen a bit more of is that they're now adding the Windows terminal. I think this feature may have existed in Windows 10 as well, but I don't know if it was some default thing that was built in. Now it is. If I open the Windows terminal here, just open in Windows terminal, which you can see they added that to the context menus, you'll see the Windows terminal open up here. And here is the Windows terminal. So right now it has a PowerShell window open up, which makes sense. Install it. Okay. And you can see we've got our PowerShell right here. And I'll just type in a directory listing here. Oh yeah, there's nothing on the desktop, dark. But yeah, if I wanted to, I could open, you can see there's tabs here now, which there was in the terminal on Windows 10. And you can even open a command prompt window or an Azure Cloud Shell, which I'll just open a command prompt window just to show you here. I like the font that's used here too. I think that looks really nice. But yeah, Windows Terminal, now a default thing in Windows 11. A few more things that I feel that I must just add on here is that Windows 11 now requires the Secure Boot feature on your computer. If you don't have that feature, it's going to flat out refuse to install. The reason why I find this annoying right now is because you don't really need Secure Boot to actually boot up and install and run Windows 11. You can bypass that by using an older Windows 10 21H1 installer and just copying the install.wim file over to the installer for Windows 10. Just replace it with the one that's in there, and it will work. You'll get Windows 11 installed on legacy systems, so I could get it installed on like a Core 2 Duo system or a really old Xeon system like my Mac Pro. That would work, and there's no issues with it at all. That could change, obviously. This is a beta, so that could easily change. I'm not surprised by that at all, that's a feature in there now, just because I do think that they, like these older computers, they're going to run this not very well, but they're not going to run it terribly, especially if you've got an SSD. I don't think that prematurely cutting older systems just because they don't support one little feature is a good idea. A lot of people are going to probably be frustrated that their computers that are fully capable of running Windows 10 now can't run Windows 11. It'd be pretty unfortunate, especially when some of these systems are from like 2010, 2011. They're still fully capable systems, but now won't run Windows 11 due to one dumb little feature, and people aren't going to know you can patch the newer systems on the older computers. People aren't going to know that, and they're going to buy new systems when there's no need to, especially if they're happy with their old computers now. So one more thing just to point out here, I'm going to open up the WinVer here just so you can see. So just so you can see the thing here, I've got Windows 11 Pro installed, and you can see the build number here is 21996.1, and you can see it's version dev, which is interesting. Yeah, obviously this is a beta version of Windows, obviously. So, oh, and I just noticed this right here. The buttons are also rounded, which look nice. Like the OK button here looks a lot more rounded. So I think, honestly, I do like the way that this looks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open the sound settings just so you can hear some of the sound effects that Windows has. If I open up my, oh, that's the wrong one. So you can see here's the sound dialog, and I'll just play a few of these for you here. Okay, so that's all of the sounds that they have changed. There were a couple in there that they did not change. Something that Microsoft also did change was the wallpapers. Now, since my copy of Windows is not activated and I'm not planning on activating it, I'll have to show you what they look like through the File Explorer, and I should be able to set them through there as well. So I just need to go find the wallpapers because they are somewhere in the C drive. Now, obviously, you've got the default wallpaper here, which I think looks nice. I wouldn't personally use it, but I think it looks nice. And then we've got the dark wallpaper here. Here's the dark background here that you can see. And honestly, I like the way that this one looks too, although for some reason it's a bit chunky, looks like. Oh yeah, these both are the 1920 by 1200, and I have a higher than that display, so both of them technically were. Yeah, that's pretty much it for Windows 11. Tell me in the comments what you guys think of the design and the aesthetic and the direction that Microsoft's going with Windows 11. I honestly think it's cool. I don't like how the icons are down in the center.
but there is a way to move them to the left side, right where they used to be. And I would set that, but my copy of Windows is not activated, and plus I wanted to keep it authentic for the video anyways. So, but yeah, on my personal computer, when I get Windows 11 upgraded on it for my personal PC, I will definitely make sure to change those settings. So that's pretty much it for all the design changes and pretty much it for this video. So yeah, again, tell me in the comments what you think of Windows 11, and give it a like if you like the video, and click subscribe if you like the content that you see on my channel. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys all later. Bye.